Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. It's certainly been kind of a wild ride the last few weeks. Just thinking all the different things that we've been going through, really in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, where we've all of a sudden transitioned to remote instruction and doing more online-based things in our classes. So what I wanted to do in this video is really just talk a little bit about the changes I made to our class. I had to make some changes just because of kind of our changing context that we have to deal with. So I want to go through some of those things with you real quick. Shouldn't take too long. And I just put together a few slides that kind of help outline some of those changes, make them real clear so you can play these back as much as you need. But just to let you know, we're going to make this work. It's going to be fine. It's going to look different, but there's more than one way to teach this course. So I think we're still good to go with a lot of the things that we had planned. It's going to look a little bit different, and that's okay. So let's go through some of these changes real quick. So I'm going to switch to sharing my screen. Let's see here. Okay, so let me just start this up real quick. So as we look at kind of some of the major changes, we are done at Jolly. We won't be able to go back this semester, and really we don't know when school there is going to start back up again. They have canceled school. They're doing it on a week-by-week basis, but kind of what I'm hearing from the principal and the superintendent is that we're probably not going to be back for quite a while. Just for them even. They're probably not looking until at least mid-April is kind of what they're looking at. And by the time we think about when our semester ends, that leaves us like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So that's not really enough time for us to do anything. Plus, it's not safe for us to be around people probably quite yet with the nature of this disease. We want to make sure that, everyone's safe and everyone's able to stay healthy. So we'll be face-to-face whenever we do come back to campus, assuming we do come back to campus, because that's still unknown. Right now, they're anticipating, after these next 2 weeks, we'll be back on campus, but we really don't know, so we just have to wait and see, okay? But if we do, we will be in Delzone. We'll figure out which room we're going to be in when the time comes, so kind of stay tuned for that. Now, obviously, we've had a required shift in the course direction. This is something I did not anticipate at the beginning of the semester. It's one of those things that, you don't see a global pandemic coming towards you, so you have to just kind of take it as it comes. So I've been spending the last week kind of figuring out what can we still do, what do we need to get rid of, and maybe what do we need to add to be able to make this work. That way you're still prepared, you're ready to use technologies when you get into the classrooms, those kinds of things. Okay, so to start out, we've had to eliminate a couple assignments. Okay, the first one is lesson plan 4. We will not be teaching fourth graders this semester, which obviously we all kind of knew that. So that assignment we will not be doing, which is good because we hadn't started ahead and introduced it, so that's not too big of a deal. And then the emerging technology presentations, I cut that one out as well just because we don't know how long this is going to take to, get past this, online remote instruction thing that we're doing. So it's like, can we maybe just like not do that assignment and do something else? That was kind of my thought process. So we're going to not do that one either. And I'm guessing most of you probably haven't gotten too far into it. So hopefully it'll still work and we'll just get to that content in a slightly different way. So we have a couple, 3 new assignments that we're going to be doing. So the first thing is we have 2 discussions, and that's what we're going to be doing this coming week and then the week after, okay? So for these 2 weeks that they have kind of already said, yes, we're going to be online instruction for these next 2 weeks, we're going to do a couple discussions, okay? So that's how we're going to kind of explore some of those topics and technologies and things like that. Okay, now in D2L I have a description of exactly what you need to do, and I will do an overview video and I can show you where all that is here at the end of our little presentation, that way you know. But how my discussions work, so I teach a number of classes online, typically at the graduate level, but sometimes I'll do one at the undergraduate level. So how I typically teach my classes is I have a first post due date and then an end of discussion due date. And the way that works is by Wednesday of the week, and that's how I have it structured here, you have to have whatever I have a couple questions or a couple prompts for you to respond to. And I try to make it more scenario-based, that we have something to work with that's a little more authentic. But you have to have something posted by that first post due date, okay? And then by the end of the discussion, you also have to have some other content posted, and I outline exactly what I want you to do. So the expectation should be pretty clear of what I'm looking for, and it's all outlined. So as long as you're doing kind of meeting those 2 deadlines and answering the questions, you'll do just fine on these discussions. And it's a way for us to still communicate with one another. The discussions are through D12 on a discussion board. They're asynchronous, so you can do them kind of anytime, any place, that kind of thing. And I actually kind of like online discussions a lot. That's what I did for my master's program. It was fully online, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping this will work out. It'll be a great alternative for meeting face to face. So we have 2 of those. We'll do 1 each week for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll kind of reevaluate there. If they extend us and we go another week or 2 online, then we'll probably add a couple more to the docket as well. Now, because we're not doing the emerging technologies presentations, we had a gap in our syllabus of, what are we going to do with these, I think it was 20 points that we aren't going to have with that presentation anymore. So what we're doing is we were getting ready to get into digital citizenship in a few weeks. So I've moved that content really up in our course schedule, and I'll show you that course schedule here in a few minutes as well. So what we've basically done is we've just taken that digital citizenship, we've kind of, here I put a little bit of more stuff to it, added a little bit of a project for us to do. So in time, I'll be sharing more about that project, but know that that is coming and it'll be due kind of at the end of the semester a little bit more. Okay, so that's the other assignment that I've added in. And again, I will give you more details on that as we get a little bit closer to it. Okay, now, we had started and you were working on your digital storytelling assignment and your thank you cards. Now, as far as thank you cards, I have created a Dropbox in D2L. Typically how I have been grading those when we were face-to-face is students would just bring them in and I would just grade them in the classroom and then you'd hand it out to your students. Well, since we can't do that now, I need you to upload them to a D2L Dropbox. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what I'll have you do by the 29th. And then your digital story, again, you should have made a lot of progress on that. I'll give you this next week to kind of wrap up anything you need to do with that, and that will be due on the 29th of March as well. Okay, and there's a Dropbox for that. And remember, I need to have the link to your digital story, whether you used, WeVideo or you used iMovie and uploaded it to YouTube, whatever, format it's in. You got to get me a link and make sure it's shared so I can view it. But then I also need your storyboard. Okay, so make sure you do that. Now, because we aren't going to be seeing each other for at least the next couple weeks, office hours don't really work very well. So how we're going to do that is I have set up an online office half hour that we're going to do. And that's just a way for you to come in. I have a link. It's called Zoom. It's the technology we're using. It's a video conferencing kind of thing, kind of like Skype or FaceTime, something like that. And you're just you can click on the link and you can come in and we'll be able to talk. And I'll be there on Tuesdays from 11 to 11:30, which is during our normal class meeting time. I thought that way you'd probably have everything open in case one of your other classes is doing something, during their class times. I don't want to interfere with that. So that's when I'll have it. And we can always schedule something outside of that time if, maybe, we're all in different circumstances now, right? I just think about even here at my own house, I have my 3 kids here and we're starting remote instruction with them. So we're trying to figure all of that out, and it's definitely a different type of context that we're dealing with now. Okay, so if we need to rearrange or reschedule or find a time when you and I can talk, that's totally cool. We can figure that out. We just got to email me and let me know, and we'll figure it out. Now, I don't know where everyone's living, so kind of aside here, but all of my times are in Central Time because that's where I am. So if if you're from across the country someplace and I just don't know that, just make sure that if you're trying to get a hold of me, Central Time is the time you should be using. Okay. Let's see here. Books. So a lot of you don't have your books. I think about half the class doesn't. So what I'm working on is getting digital copies of the book from the publisher if we can. And if not, we are going to go ahead and get the scanner out. And I'm going to scan in every page of the book. We've been told we can do that because of the kind of special circumstances we're under now. So if I don't hear back from the publisher by, Sunday, Monday, this weekend, that kind of thing, I'll be making not photocopies, but I'll be scanning them in at work. So I'll do that real quick. So you might get the book a little bit late. We do have the digital citizenship book, but not the Google Infused Classroom book. That's the one I'm still waiting on. But it's coming. So if you don't have it, don't worry. We will get it to you so you can still participate, still do the readings, still, get everything done that you need to get done. Okay. Let's see here. So kind of one of the last things here before we get into D2L is we need to work on avoiding social isolation. So I don't know how many of you have taken an online class before, but one of the things that we run the risk of is students feeling like they're completely alone. Okay, so we want to avoid that as much as possible. So one thing that we need to do, make sure that we all do, is that we ask a lot of questions, right? Because I'm not going to be able to see the puzzled looks on your face. I'm not going to be walking around like I would when we're in class together. So if you have a question, you have to ask a question. Okay, and you have to be a little bit more outgoing than you might be normally in class, right? Like if you don't, go out there and participate in the discussions, I'm probably not gonna see that, right? So you have to put yourself out there a little bit, get your ideas out there, that kind of thing. Okay. Now, to help avoid some of the social isolation, I've created 2 different discussion threads for us to use separate from our discussion assignments. The first one is called Student Lounge, and it's just a place for you to go and discuss anything you want to do. Kind of think of you have a good resource or you just want to talk about something that's going on, something you might do before class. would start, you can put it in there. And it's a space that I will not go into unless I'm invited to go into it. And it's just that area so you can have some of that interaction with each other. Now, the other one is if you have a question about something, it can be about maybe some of the content we're doing or some of the activities or the assignments, or maybe it's just a question about something in general you want to get my feedback on, right? It could be anything. You can go ahead and post a question in the Ask Dr. M a question discussion thread, okay? Both of these are in D2L, and for that question thread, I will check that every day, even on the weekend at 11:30 a.m. Okay, so I'll always check it at least daily, once daily at that time. Otherwise, I might check it, more periodically, kind of as I have time. Okay, so just wanted to make sure we address that because that is one of the things that we can run a risk of getting into is if we kind of become a little bit more isolated. Okay, so let's see here. What's next? So we have D2L organization is kind of the last thing that we need to talk about. So let's go ahead and pull that up. So in D2L, I have updated the syllabus, and I will, as I make updates, I will go ahead and make sure that I update the date here as well, so you know. But I imagine there won't be a ton more changes, but it just depends basically on when we go back, so we don't know. Okay, and when you open up the syllabus, where I made the most changes would be two places. So when you go down to kind of the assignments, I've gotten rid of the assignments we're not doing, and I've added in the assignments that we are doing. So lesson plan 4 is gone, and I've added the digital citizenship project and taking out the emerging technology presentations. Okay, so that's the more or less minor changes I've made to the number of assignments that we're doing. So it's about the same. And then the schedule, I put the schedule for the rest of the semester in, just breaking it up here for the next 2 weeks. We are definitely doing these things the next 2 weeks. I have the first week completely done. I have the second week nearly probably 90% of the way done. Just have to make a couple more things. I've added some readings in here that you need to do, rearranged when we're doing readings. So we're going to start out with that digital citizenship book and get into that here this next week, and then we'll get into it a little bit more over the next few weeks, really throughout the rest of the semester. Okay. And then you can see the due dates for separate discussion posts. So your first post is due by the 25th of March, and then the next is on the 29th, and then have all the due dates. I tried to keep the due dates except for the discussions. Everything's on Sunday at midnight. Now, if you need more time to do something, obviously we're going to let you have some more time to do it. We want to make sure you're successful. So you just have to, good communication, just like I would expect from you if we were face-to-face, something like that. Okay. Now you'll notice we have a lot of the semester that's left highlighted blue. That's because we don't know what's going to happen. This is my best guess for what we're going to do. But if something has a change, it's probably going to be in that, what is it, like 4 weeks, and then finals week. This is what we'd have left. So we're kind of playing it by ear. We got to check, see how things are going to go, see how bad this virus is going to spread throughout South Dakota and throughout the U.S. before we know if we're going to be coming back. Part of me thinks we won't be actually coming back. We'll be doing it all online, but I don't know that for sure. That's just my own kind of intuition as you read things, on the internet and watch TV, those kind of things. Maybe I should stop doing, right? Inspiring fear in all of us. But I think even if we have to go the entire semester, what's left online, I think it's going to be fine. Right? I'm not worried about it. I like teaching online just about as much as I like teaching face-to-face. It's a little bit different. It takes some adjusting to. And I know it's not an ideal situation because many of you did not sign up for an online class. Maybe that's not what you do well. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that we can make sure everything goes smoothly, or as smoothly as possible. We'll be super flexible. We'll make sure you get through. I think everyone's doing a great job so far. And it definitely is a bummer that we won't be able to teach, the second graders and the fourth graders anymore. But it just kind of is what it is. And we can't control the things we can't control them. We're just going to work past it. Okay. So let me see here. I think I covered everything I needed to. If there's anything you feel like I missed or you have questions about, you just got to email me post a question in D2L. I'm going to open that up here shortly for everybody so you can see this next week's activities. You just got to let me know, and we'll figure it out. We'll get through it together, and we'll all be patient together, and everything will be just great. Okay. Otherwise, stay healthy, stay safe, all those kind of things, and I will see you online. All right, we'll see you.